Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm really excited to have Lou Cohen here with us today. He's at EY as the Director and Chief Digital Officer of the Americas, and he is our advocacy honoree for the Silver Apples this year. Lou, welcome.
Thank you.
And congratulations. We're so excited to celebrate you in November.
I appreciate it. I'm thrilled to be honored with this.
Could you just give us a little intro and background on yourself?
Sure. So I've been with EY now just over 6 years. I'm a Director, Chief Digital Officer for the Americas. I oversee EY.com, brand, media, MarTech, analytics, AI for marketing, and pretty much whatever else they throw at me. And then I'm also an adjunct professor at three universities in New York, NYU, Yeshiva University, and Baruch College, and have been an adjunct for about 15 years.
Wow, so you keep busy. You have just a little bit on your plate.
Just a little bit.
That's amazing. So, over the course of your career, you've kind of dabbled in strategy, data, creativity, a little bit of everything. What first got you into marketing in the first place?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because when I went to undergrad at Carnegie Mellon, I thought I was going to be a doctor. And after my first semester not going so well in science, my older brother was like, "Hey, you kind of have a thing for business. You should probably look at the business school and explore that." And I ended up doing a degree in industrial management and entrepreneurship, and had my own .com during the .com boom years, and found myself in marketing in that first summer internship working for Marvel Comics. I ended up having an internship at Better Homes and Gardens, and ultimately landed in the world of digital marketing just by way of what happened in my internships in my undergrad.
Amazing. So now thinking about where you are today, and you have the role at EY and then also the adjunct professor roles, how has your role as an educator really influenced your work and your leadership?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I get asked often what has kept me teaching all these years. I certainly have a big enough job day to day that I probably would appreciate a little more sleep at night. But the reason I can't walk away from teaching is because at the end of every semester, I get emails from a couple of students that are like, Professor, this thing that you talked about really was resonating with me, or I found this useful at work. And even years later, I hear from former students who are telling me that they found value in the courses that I teach. And I'm learning from them along the way too. You're not going to find somebody my age that really understands why TikTok is different than Snapchat, different than Instagram, different than YouTube in the way that I do. But I understand that because my students are telling me these things. And I don't just lecture to them, I also try to invite conversation with them about the subjects and the topics we talk about. I can certainly give them my experience and knowledge and the history of these digital capabilities that we have and why they work the way they do. But then I'll open it up to discussions where it's like, so how do you experience this? What have you encountered? And that's generally why I find so much value in being an academic is I can put the things that we work with in digital marketing to the test of an entirely different lens of people, and their vantage point, their experience is going to make me a better marketer. Um, but I know there's that value exchange. I know they're getting some value from what I'm bringing to the table for them, based on the feedback that I've gotten for so many years. But it's those ideas, those thoughts that they bring to the table that I wouldn't have considered that really help me.
Amazing. That's great. So on top of all of that, and you talked about how you certainly have a full-time job plus the adjunct professors, in for Silver Apples, you won the advocacy award. So where does that come into play in your roles, in your different roles, and how did you get started on that path?
Yeah, probably during my years working at Microsoft, I was one of the first six people hired for the New York office for what eventually became Bing ads, the first time around before Yahoo got involved and all of that. So back to 2005. And one of the roles that I played in that organization was I would go to events and conferences and speak on the things that Microsoft was doing, and really evangelizing Bing and the ads capabilities that Microsoft was building to digital marketers. Um, I kind of enjoyed it. I don't mind getting in front of an audience. Part of being a professor, you do this all the time. And so uh, I found myself getting asked to speak at more and more events, different conferences throughout my career. I've even keynoted and moderated different things for different people. I've been asked to show up as a thought leader or an evangelist in different circumstances. Um, but the where it shows up for me at EY is I'm very involved in the Association of National Advertisers B2B community. I often speak at their conferences and events. Um, and more recently, I've been very involved with the alliance that EY has with Adobe. And I've spoken at Adobe Summit about the things that we've done. In particular, we were actually the co-developer of the Adobe B2B Real-Time CDP, which is a mouthful and a lot of acronyms, but
Mhm.
it's a customer data platform. And they had a B2C version until we got involved and partnered with them to develop a B2B version. And the nuance there is the buying group, and being able to understand data around a buying group different than an individual is particularly of use in the B2B world. So I've been on the speaker circuit talking about that. But then I also get to support our client teams at EY when they're pitching or engaging clients around Adobe solutions, in particular this CDP product. That's actually put me into a variety of different situations where I'm not just advocating for a platform I know works. I'm teaching people about this capability that previously wasn't really there for us. And as data has become harder and harder to work with, given privacy rules, privacy regulations, how we've gotten to like 60% of a cookieless world, um, these types of technologies are really important. And so I'm doing that type of work. But then also in my career, when I worked at Citi, I found myself in front of like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, educating them about how affiliate marketing works because they didn't understand it. And that's part of, because of those meetings that I had there, there are disclosures to this day on affiliate websites that are promoting credit cards and bank accounts.
Mhm. Amazing. So you mentioned B2B and your focus on, helping Adobe and the platform get over to that. Talk to me a little bit about what trends you see coming in the B2B world.
I mean, I'd be silly not to talk about AI, but I know we're going to get there. So where I'd focus my answer on this is really around brand. Um, Frankly, in B2B, brand has been discounted for a long time, and I think many of us have woken up in the last several years that brand actually is super important in the B2B space, probably more important than you might consider in B2C, because what most B2C companies really are is B2B2C. I often give this example of who does Kraft Heinz, who do they actually sell to? Yes, they're marketing to consumers, but they actually sell to distributors and wholesalers. And so their entire business model is B2B2C. But their brand on the B2B side isn't nearly as strong as the B2C side. But what if it were equally as strong? What if they invested more in brand in that situation so that they had better trust from Walmart, Target, and their distribution channels? If they had favorable pricing because of their branding and their value as a brand? These are things that I think those B2C companies need to consider more. But those of us that are really B2B pure plays, I mean, we're a professional services firm, we need to be considered, and
Mhm.
the strength of our brand invites more opportunity for us to be considered in the moments that matter. And I definitely see the trend emerging where B2B as a community, we're waking up and seeing brand really is important, and we have to tell better stories around our brand. Um, I think AI has kind of complicated that a little bit because you have some companies that are trying to shortcut their way to doing this, but there is no
Mhm.
shortcut to telling a genuine, authentic story about what your brand stands for and what they're about to your audiences that matter, whatever they may be, businesses or consumers.
Speaking right to my heart. I was just in a conversation with someone about this yesterday and the importance of brand and B2B. So I love it. So you mentioned that you can't avoid talking about AI. I would love to push that a little bit more. I know you mentioned it a little bit in talking about B2B and the trends you see, but how are you approaching AI at EY or and also in your classrooms?
Yeah, so it's very different in both situations. In the classroom, There are definitely moments where I tell my students, please do not try and use AI for this thing. I want you to actually learn how this works so that you know how this works, and then I'll show you how to apply AI to it. Or I'll say, you know what? This is the Wild West. Let's try AI solutions for this and see what happens. So in my digital marketing courses, I have a website project where I tell my student teams, randomly assigned groups, I'm like, go build a website and we're going to use this as our platform to do all sorts of different marketing things. And this semester, for the first time, I said, look, I want to better understand how AI works for building websites. If you want to try and build your website with AI, go for it. Let's see what happens. Because this project, it's not about having the best website. It's about the things we do along the way that may work or not. And I'm like, try and fail, try marketing things and mess up because this is academia. We can try things and learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point of that project. So I really do try to get them exploring in specific areas where AI can be helpful to them. And we're definitely pushing the limits on that. But at EY, we are a regulated industry. We need to be a little more cautious in how we approach things. And our client serving teams are absolutely leveraging AI capabilities to support our clients and even solve those AI challenges with our clients. Internally, we are using things like Copilot, and we have a secured enterprise version of GPT that we can use, which we internally call EYQ. And these two capabilities have been fully vetted by our security, privacy, like all the teams to make sure that we are not going to risk any of our client data or anything like that. But we are exploring, we are trying to find other ways to innovate and expedite our work, be you know, faster, better, smarter. And we've been able to build agents in some cases to take repetitive processes and streamline them. We've been able to build custom solutions where we can start to evaluate some of the things we're doing faster, better, and smarter. And internally, I think many in our leadership view our marketing organization as a bit forward in our AI endeavors internally, whereas some other teams may be a little more cautious, and I think for good reason in some cases. But because we're not putting anything that's AI derived into the public markets, we're not putting content that's AI derived, images that are AI derived, we're not doing that. We're trying to apply AI capabilities so that we make ourselves internally better, faster, smarter, and down the road, we'll see where this takes us because even I'm not a fan of having probabilistic content developed from other sources be the voice of EY. I
Mm-hmm.
think we have enough smart people that we can create content and then maybe use AI to make sure that we spelled everything right and had the grammar correct, just like we've used Word for years to do that exact capability.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. I love that. So of all the things that you've done, whether it's in academia or in any of your past roles, what is one of the achievements that you're most proud of to date?
Oh, first is going to be my family. I've got three daughters and my wife, and kind of excited that my oldest is thinking about a career in marketing. Chip off the old block, hopefully. But she's way more creatively talented than I ever was. So we'll see where that goes. But professionally, I've had many moments that I'm extremely proud of. From what we accomplished in my time at Microsoft to build the business that became Bing Ads, uh, to frankly taking my role at Citi when I started there. Um, I was given a budget of around 20 something million dollars, driving hundreds of millions of revenue for Citi. When I left, I was spending over $150 million, driving billions of dollars of revenue for Citi, all through digital marketing capabilities. Or my time at Wolters Kluwer, where I was part of a change management leadership team brought in to transform the organization. And this was an organization had 9 years of declining revenue, had laid off two-thirds of their organization, and I walked in the door and I'm like, okay, what do we got to do? And found systems that were not integrated, marketing that was not targeting clients, and frankly, sales channels that were not effective and efficient. I told the leadership team, give me some money, some resources, and time. 2 years later, we turned everything around, started growing the business again, turned it to profitability, and started expanding that.
Oh,
And
amazing.
so I've had, fortunately, several moments, but at EY, um, similarly, I was brought in as part of change leadership, and I really am grateful to my CMO Tony for giving me the room to do what I do. And we drove EY's own digital transformation. We took a site that was once built on Lotus and moved it to AEM, and made it significantly better globally and locally, and integrated marketing automation, CRM, CDP, all the data systems that we need to make our data flows, so that now we can see the relationship we have with our clients digitally from their first touch point all the way through to opportunities and revenue. And we can start to optimize the funnels and flows of our user bases. And honestly, probably the thing I'm most proud of is the team that I've got around me. Um, the group of people that I've been able to surround myself with at EY have been some of the best I've ever worked with. And even within my organization, there are a few that have been with me in other jobs that came along for the ride for a second time, and or even a third time in one case.
That's always a good testament when you have followers and you can work with people over time like that. That's amazing. So, you talked about change management and how you've helped a lot of companies turn around and really change. But what do you think some of the biggest challenges are in the business today?
And there are many. Um, Probably the one I think is most prominent right now is just a lack of understanding of the role of marketing in an AI world. And people are starting to go to the extremes of, well, can't the AI just do that for us? And, I think the misunderstanding there is like, yes, the AI can do more. It can move things faster and make us more capable. But I'm not the most creative person in the world. I can draw a little bit, I can envision how things work, but I'm also smart enough to hire somebody who's way more talented at that capability than I am to do that work.
Mhm.
And that view of the world, that lens that a creative person actually has, that's not going to go away. That we still need that mindset, that creative view of the world to help us understand what does good look like? What's the right user flow? How do people engage with this thing? My biggest strength in this world of marketing is data and systems. I understand technology really well, and I somewhat attribute that to my undergrad, where I was surrounded by computer scientists and engineers, and I was like one of three business guys in my fraternity, and like I learned a lot about technology from my friends,
Mhm.
and that was the early days of .com. So now, like AI doesn't scare me. I'm fully embracing it, but we also need those people that understand consumer behavior, how to go to market, what does good look like, what is an appropriate UX. And so I do think we have a little bit of an uphill battle to sort of resell the value of marketing into
Mhm.
the business that sees AI as a cost efficiency. Because yes, it should be an efficiency capability. This is going to streamline things, it's going to make things better, but you can't sacrifice the knowledge and understanding of your client base and your consumers and how they actually become aware of or consider businesses. Because when you start to take that leap, you're going to sacrifice your bottom line in the end.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's really important. So I know you work with a lot of young students and you're interacting, especially at different schools. But a big part of MCNY is bridging that gap and bringing students or newer people in the marketing space into the fold and really get them comfortable. What is some advice you have for young professionals entering the field today?
So this is probably going to sound wrong coming from a professor, but your education should not be so formal. There's so much out there. We are in a time where the wealth of information and education that's available to anybody and everybody has never been greater. You could go on YouTube and learn all about anything. You can go onto LinkedIn Learning or Khan Academy, and it's all free. It's all there. Um, and yet somehow I always run into people, not just students, who don't know about this or don't consider that. And they're like, no, I need to go back to school and get another degree or a certificate. And I'm like, if you really want to learn something, go online and learn it. Like
Hmm.
just go find the information and seek it out, and it's there, because somebody else that knew that wanted to share what they know.
Hmm.
And look, if you want a certification or a degree as a credential, that I understand. I mean, when I did my MBA, I felt like I had employees with MBAs and I needed to get that credential or I was going to be in trouble. And of course, that led me to being a professor because I knew more than some of my professors at the time, about digital marketing in particular.
Hmm.
And so the credential has value, but the access to information is so abundant. And I would challenge anybody of any age, like, don't worry so much about formal education if it's going to uh, be a blocker or take more time than you need it to. Understand it's all out there, and be curious, learn, always try to learn something new, um, because frankly, anybody can do it. It's just the person that's going to take the time to learn something, they're going to be the one better off.
Hmm.
And I also think we're going to see a period of time, just because of the cost of higher education, we're going to see more and more people coming into the marketplace where they aren't getting the credential and they're choosing to take this route of learning things online on their own. And you know what? They may be just as good, if not better, than some of the people doing the 4-year degrees.
Hmm. That's interesting. The idea, I love the idea of curiosity. I think it all stems from that. And I think that's really important. But the idea that you can chart your own course and that you don't have to be, blocked in with a specific curriculum and follow your passion. So that's great. Well, Lou, thank you so much. Congratulations again on the Silver Apple honor. We're
Thank you.
excited to celebrate with you in November. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been great chatting with you.
Thanks for having me.